Yuppers, man. Yeah, I went from getting slowly better to flu to pink eye.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm super not happy. What pisses me off even more is like I watch Phil's kids and like
Yeah.
I I would have never had them come over if I knew I was just about to get pink eye, but Stella hadn't shown symptoms of pink eye since Monday.
Right.
So I was like, it's fine, No, I don't want that. So I thought there's no way I'm getting pink eye this late in the game.
Right.
Nope. Got it. Just today. Right after they left, too. Went the whole day just fine. I even wore a mask today because yesterday I was like bedridden with the flu.
Uh-huh.
So I wore a mask to protect myself. Well, to protect them. And then, like, they left. They got picked up. 2 hours later, my eye started itching. And then my eye already swelled shut. Here, I'll send you a picture. I'll send you a fun old picture.
Oh, Jesus.
And this is not the worst it's been yet. Maybe I'll post this to Discord if this gets used as a bonus. Stop. Just let me send a picture. Turn on what? Yeah. Allow. There you go. You can see the snot and shit coming out. Gooing out. Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's extra bad about that picture now?
What?
Is I'm going to forget that you have sent it to me. And then the next time you message me, I'm going to open it up and gag again.
Do you want me to delete it?
It's okay.
I think people will be able to see from the podcast itself that I have it because one of my eyes looks swollen even in my shitty Logitech camera.
God.
So
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, have decided for whatever reason to tune into another horrible gaming podcast. I would like to use the Quantum Studio at this point to welcome you to the year 2023 because that's when you're listening to this. However, you may have figured out because of the Grinch tree behind me that we're recording this early. Mainly because New Year's Day falls on a Sunday, and we didn't think there'd be as much news as there has been this month. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little short show to put up in that week, and then we will be back the next week with all the fan interactions from this and the Horrible Game Awards. Whatever you have for us, okay? We will have it for you, okay? But this will be our most anticipated show. What we're going to do is we're going to take the time to go through our 3 most anticipated games for next year. We're going to talk about them, riff about them, just kind of shoot the shit for a few minutes. This is probably not going to be a long show since we're not going to do odds and ends or fan traction because we're in the future right now.
How is the science possible?
Right. So, yeah. And we may or may not have Phil on later to do his most anticipated. That's up in the air right now. So that being said, we will be right back with the show.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right. So, like I said, no fan traction today because we're in the future. We can't possibly know what you commented on. And our last show was the Horrible Game Awards. They all went over splendidly, and it was a great show. That being said, I am not sure if you can tell from the camera, but I have pink eye now. That's right. My child gave me pink eye. Now, since this is 3 weeks in the future, I don't have pink eye anymore. However, This was recorded the week that my kid did have pink eye. You'll remember back, it was already the opening on one episode. And while I thought I was safe, I'm not safe, and I'm apparently going to be sick until I die, which
Forever.
maybe soon. I don't know at the rate I'm going. My immune system apparently has just decided to stop doing anything. They're on strike. I don't know. Maybe I eat too much Taco Bell, and they're like, fuck this guy. Let it all burn. But yeah, so if you're wondering why one of my eyes look like I got punched by a boxer but don't have a black eye, it's because it's swelling shut with snot and mucus. Fun stuff. Sip my tea. So like I said, we're going to do most anticipated for 2023. We're looking forward. We're trying to be positive with our first show of 2023, Neil. So what we're going to do is me and Neil have both decided on 3 games, maybe situations, whatever, that we are really excited about, that we're really looking forward to and hopeful for and positive for. I want to just repeat that. Positive. Positivity is the name of this game.
And hopeful.
And hopefulness.
Hopeful.
Not two things that we're well known for.
That is the key word for what we are striving for. We are hopeful.
Right. Right. And just to let everybody know, we were going to do this show with Philbilly. I believe he is ill as well now. We might have Philbilly at the end and just record it at a separate time to kind of edit it together. So we might have overlap with him because he's not going to see what we do, basically. So it should be fun. All right. So who's going first, me or you, man?
You know what? I'll take the lead on this one.
All right, I'm excited. What's your first?
So
Your first.
my first one is going to be Forspoken.
Really? I'm excited.
One that I've been looking forward to that one. Unfortunately, I've not been able to play that demo yet. It finally finished installing. It was like a 7 or 8 gigabyte.
The demo,
yeah. I very much
say goodbye to your hard drive on that one.
Well, the PS5 has already not had a lot of hard drive space spare as of late, anyways. But it looks like something that's very visually appealing. It's very Square Enix in its Square Enixiness. Something that's right up my alley. I've seen some of the first impressions, and they're a solid okay. But until we really get our hands on the final product, we'll see. But I love the whole idea of this, the fish out of water sort of individual pulled from our realm and forced to make it in a strange new world. I love that sort of thing, as cliche as it is.
Right.
But it looks like it'll be super fun.
So I have some things to say about Forspoken. I've been pretty negative on this game so far. I did read the preview of it. I do think the magic system sounds interesting. It is one of those that, like, I've been waiting for a magic system to really catch my eye for a long time, because I think all magic out there is always battle magic. It's always throwing fireballs and lightning bolts. I think you could be so much cooler with magic. You know what I mean? Like, it could be like a Doctor Who chess match every time you come across a fight with a mage. And what I've heard of Forspoken is, while they do have some fair amount of battle magic, they also have a lot of uses for each spell that can get really tricky, and I like the sound of that. I am trying to stay positive on this, because I do have negative things to say about it. But
and that's.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to
trying to stay positive. It's trying to stay positive. Like, right off the bat, I wanted to be like, fuck them, but I didn't. Try to point out the good points. I think that, like, there are some things that make me cautious about it. I am very scared. I have a real problem with games that look exponentially pretty. Because in the last couple of years, every time we've gotten those, they've been train wrecks, and everybody gets wowed by these graphics that don't matter. Like, when I don't hate graphics. Don't get me wrong. I like good graphics. I'm not going to say I don't. But I will play a fucking 16-bit style game if it's got what I want in it. You know what I mean? If it's a well-made game. Hell, I'm playing Kinseed right now. Game's 16-bit, top-down graphics. You know, River City Girls is another one I'm very into. Bit graphics, sprites. Like, if it's doing what I want it to do, that's what's more important to me than these huge graphics. And that makes me nervous about Forspoken. That being said, trying to stay positive, I really like the sound of the combat system. I think that we're gonna get a lot of the sameness because it's gonna be a very Ubisoft kind of situation. I think you're gonna have this massive open world, go anywhere. You're gonna have a lot of icons with a lot of quests. But I think what could really pull people in, trying to stay positive, I think what will pull people in, because I like games like that, it's just sometimes they get a little shitty quick. What'll pull people in is a nice, tricky magic system that hasn't been done before, and from what I read of the preview, it looks very positive on that.
Yeah. Like you'd kind of alluded to, yeah, I saw some of the early impressions for the last time it was shown off and released to reviewers. I don't know if it's the same exact build that the demo is that we have available here, but we will see, and I will see here relatively soon. Or
I'd love it if you did a first impressions video. No pressure. Yeah. No pressure.
I would love it if I had the time to do so. But that also said, now, not here now, but past now that is now, if that all makes sense.
Okay.
I'll have a little bit of free time because I'm going into winter break. So I might be able to squirt something out maybe.
Okay, if you could never say squirt something out again, I'll be happy. I'm good on that. I'm good on that terminology. I don't need to hear that again.
So the next one,
I'm gonna name the episode that.
Squirt something out.
Squirt something out.
What the hell?
Don't worry about it. It was. Oh, come on, man! Somebody's messaging me on Facebook, and for whatever reason, it comes through my computer and my phone at the same time. So it's just like everything's blibbing right now.
Sound like a harmonica.
It's a harmonica on my phone, and then it's like a pa-pa-poo on my phone, and then there's a blue on my computer. So it's a train wreck.
So the next one that I'm excited for, which is one that unfortunately I did not make it into either of the betas for, is Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6. I am ready for that.
You made it in the first one though, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you played the first one.
No, I had applied for it, but I did not make it in. Same goes with this most recent one here. Unfortunately, I didn't make it in. Yeah, it's all right though. It sounds like what they're going for with the battle system is something more akin to what I experienced in Street Fighter 4.
Okay.
Which is where I really that's where I really glommed onto Street Fighter was 4. I have 5 on the PS5 and the PC, but I don't know. It was something about the system. I think it was the lack of the focus ability that all the characters had, basically allowing you to take one hit. And then either counter attacking with it or just absorbing that hit and trying to back away and not take damage so that little bit that you took regenerates. I feel like that was my bread and butter, and it sounds like they're going to implement something along those lines in 6. Because weirdly, 5, I wanted so badly to like 5. I just couldn't get on board with it. But 6 looks like it's going to be changing a lot of stuff up. You're kind of working on the systems, and they have this open world story mode thing now that they're doing with create a character, to to where you can like make your own character and just take moves from other people and make it your own, basically turning you into a Seth character, if you know anything about the Street Fighter 4, to where you just have everybody's everything. But it also looks like there was some sort of like a tag team element to where you can tag in main characters to like do an attack, almost like Marvel vs. Capcom sort of thing. So we will see how that turns out. I have very high hopes for that one.
Fingers firmly crossed we could get like 2 created characters going and do a show, the 2 of us, because I'll look to purchase it if it's got something like that in it. That game does look cool. It does look cool. I do like fighting games. They're not games that I like to spend full price on because unless they really suck me in, I'm not gonna like stick with them long enough, to really get that money's worth. Like I usually, for fighting games, I usually go for big, like third person, like For Honor, and like Chivalry 2, stuff like that, which are kind of fighting games. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Because they're about close combat fighting, but it's not like that side scrolling. Wow.
Right.
So yeah, I'm also not very good at the side scrolling. Like that is just a skill that's passed me by as the years have gone. But that being said, Street Fighter 6 looks really good. It looks like a good return to form for the series after what I would say was kind of a botched 5. And I'm really excited about some of these new features. And I'm not going to lie, nobody likes the character creator more than me, man. Nobody. Especially if I can, like, pick and choose techniques from any character. I wanted to get real in. Like, let me pick my light, heavy, and strong attacks from which character. Like, I'd love to do that as long as you could even work some stuff in where you got to train with them and stuff, which it kind of looks like they've got some of that in. I doubt it's going to be as in-depth as I would like it to be, but just the idea that you could create your own fighter in Street Fighter, it's got me going. I think that's really cool. I would love this to have some, like, tail-end endgame stuff, too. Not just the online ranked multiplayer. I'd love it to be like, oh, now you go over here, you fight 2 guys like this, and then you go over here, and there's a weird test of strength here, and then there's a weird bonus match here, And I've seen some of the trailers. Looks like it's got that stuff, which kind of excites me. I'm not gonna lie. This is not gonna be a game that I run to the stores to pay $70 for, but once you play it and give me the report, it definitely might be a game that I pay $70 for in the post.
Mm-hmm. So my last one, you're gonna hate me, I think.
There's only one thing you could say that would make me angry.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that one, isn't it?
It's probably gonna be that one.
Okay.
Because the other one goes.
I'm gonna try and stay positive. I said I got a mission to stay mostly positive. I'm trying to stay positive. I mean, if you say Death Stranding 2, we're gonna have serious problems.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even consider that one. I was like, he's not that kind of person.
No, I'm not that kind of person.
He wouldn't wait for me to say the word positive and then drop a Kojima game in my lap.
There's 2 more for the year that I'm anticipating. One of them is, it goes without mentioning because, I've been talking about it for so long. We've talked about it for so long. Tears of the Kingdom. That's not going to be my one. I'm not going to go into that one.
I keep forgetting that's coming out next year because it's just been delayed,
Right. That one is just like, come on. I think everyone and their mother is anticipating that.
There are some people who dislike it. There are some people who really couldn't play it because of the weapon breaking system.
Fair.
And I really hope they've done something about that in the second one.
But the last one that I'm anticipating is gonna be Starfield.
Okay, all right, talk about it.
So, I don't know. Like,
I want to know why you're anticipating it because we both badmouth this game quite a bit.
We do. We really do. We absolutely talk the maddest shit about this game all the time. But there is something about that Skyrim, Fallout, open world exploration formula And putting that in an entirely new setting can make it hit a little bit different. Now, I've mentioned before that in my personal life, I am a huge sucker for like space shit.
Yeah.
I love space
Sci-fi.
shit, like
Sci-fi.
not even just sci-fi, but like even like real world like astrophysics and stuff like that. Like I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast where he talks about like that sort of stuff. Yeah, he's actually kind of problematic now, but that's neither here nor there. But
everybody's problematic nowadays, man. Everybody's one step from getting canceled.
But yeah, I think that there's enough goodwill left from me to just take Bethesda at their word on this and say, you know what? Fine, it's gonna be we know it's gonna be buggy when it comes out. They're not gonna I feel like they would be absolute idiots to come out and say, you know, oh well the game is perfect, there's no anything this, that, and the other, because that's basically what CDPR did with Cyberpunk. This is a different situation, and they've not necessarily been shy about how buggy their games are.
Yeah.
So I think that there is enough goodwill left, from me at least, coupled with a reasonable expectation of what the game is going to be, to have me be anticipating it. Because I feel like that's something that I can sink some time into. I want it to be everything that I want it to be.
Right.
But I also have the wherewithal to know that it's not going to be end-to-end like No Man's Sky, but handcrafted.
Well, I wouldn't want a No Man's Sky handcrafted. Like fully handcrafted, I want some procedural generation in a game like that, just so that you can explore. I will say, No Man's Sky could do with some more narrative elements, and not necessarily like get the procedural generation out of here, but I wish that some of their, like almost none of, as much of the stuff that you could do in No Man's Sky, and you can do tons of stuff, very little of it connects to an overarching narrative. You do a thing and then that thing's done. You know, it's done. You build a house. Okay. You run a settlement. Okay. Well, the settlement's going to get attacked and you're going to build something for the settlement, and that's it. Like there's no like real relationships in it. I feel like that's where No Man's Sky falls apart. Not necessarily the procedural generation, or it's its weakness. I won't say it falls apart. Starfield could definitely present that with making the procedural, because they already have admitted they're going to have procedural generation in it.
Right.
But they could make the procedural generation smaller and focus a little bit more on narrative and relationships. And that's something that they don't do bad. Skyrim had some great relationship options, had some great, like, revenge, the world reacting to you sort of options. Fallout 4 did a really good job of that too. Say what you want about that game. Fallout 76 really dropped the ball. I think that a lot of goodwill was eaten up by that failure and subsequent failures after that. That being said, I'm trying to stay positive here. I am a huge proponent, because I usually end up on the negative end of things lately. I love to be wrong. I want this thing to hit Game Pass and me to boot it up and me to say nothing but nice things about it. I would love that. I would love it to be everything we've been waiting for what, 8 odd years now, something like that, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. That would be so exciting. I have a hard time putting my eggs in that basket right now because of everything that we've seen of Starfield and everything we've seen in the AAA game community.
The lack of what we have seen of Starfield.
Well, and that's another thing. The biggest problem I have is it's like, yeah, if it's true open world like Skyrim was, well, that'll be really cool in space. But it doesn't feel open world. It doesn't even feel like, it feels like you're just traveling from point A to point B. It feels like Mass Effect. Their version of Mass Effect is everything that I've seen in the trailer. And Mass Effect was great, but I don't think Bethesda does relationships that well, because that's what Mass Effect is about. It's not about anything else, really.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That being said, I'd love it to be Skyrim in space. I would love it to be Skyrim in space. I would love it to be just that. Whichever one of them said. Yeah, I don't know which one said that.
Nobody knows if it's going to be Skyrim in space.
I'd love it.
We've had explicitly, yes, it will be Skyrim in space, and explicitly, no,
Right.
it will not be Skyrim in space.
I would absolutely love that. And that would get my gas turning. I will say one other thing I'm anticipated about. And this might be a little bit of a loophole, but I'm very anticipated to be done dealing with it. Like, have it behind us. Like,
That's fair.
not have to review it anymore, not have to talk about it, not have to preview it, not have to do whatever we have to do with it. Like, I'm sure that when it releases, it will be 3 weeks of hell for us, one way or the other, whether it's good or not. After that, we will slowly temper down, and then it'll be something every once in a while we go, look at that, or look at that, and then it'll be done, and I don't have to worry about the hype train anymore that we seem constantly getting hit by.
Surely you must forget of our entire saga with Cyberpunk.
Well, the Cyberpunk lasted for like 2 months, and then it slowly tapered off. We still come back to it every once in a while, but still, it came out and we dealt with it. You know what I mean?
As we want to do with all of our entertainment, want to just deal with them.
Just deal with it. Deal with the situation that it presents. All right, so that means it's my turn now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, so we're staying positive, right?
Staying positive.
That's the name of this game. So my first, most anticipated, Sea Dogs. Not Sea Dogs, I'm sorry.
Sea Dogs.
Why do I keep calling it Sea Dogs?
Sea Dog. I don't know.
I have no idea why. It's, and now I can't remember it. Skull and Bones. Jesus Christ. Skull and Bones is my first most anticipated.
I can't remember the thing I'm very anticipated for.
It comes out March 9th. It's early. And may or may not have gotten some preview situations to it. And in this hypothetical world where I loved everything I saw. Like, it was wonderful. Of course, I feel I'm in the minority on that. I can't be 100% positive, but people still are tearing it apart on the internet and YouTube. And with some good reason, some not so good reason. You know what I mean? I think that them building up the whole third-person exploring islands and boarding ships was kind of silly. When you saw what this game come from, I don't know why anybody thought that was going to be in the game. Anybody who knew gaming. You know what I mean? That being said, there are some aspects of this game that maybe aren't the greatest. There is a lot of grind in it, at least in the stage that I think it's at right now. And I hope that is fixed a little bit. But I also understand why it's in there, because that's what the game is. You know what I mean? But that's my kind of game. It really is. It's like, hey, be a pirate. Do your pirating however you want to do your pirating. And that's really exciting. I think the ship combat is going to be great based on absolutely no experience of my own. I think that there's a lot of fun in that. I think it'll be, if I can find other people to play with, it'll be a lot of fun to like sail ships with people together and take on other whatever and missions. I love the questing in it, the finding new stuff, the exploration aspects of it, all the cool stuff. That it's very visually appealing. So yeah, I'm very hopeful for it.
Yeah, I'm very like. This game is not necessarily something that I personally am excited about, but I am excited about everything surrounding it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because this long and storied development of this game that has been through absolute hell, I need to know in the end, is it worth it?
Right.
And primarily from there, how Ubisoft is going to treat it.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've seen live service games all the time come and go like super fast. You know, Babylon's Fall. People didn't catch on to it. So they just decided less than a year in, is like, look, nobody likes this shit. Let's just shut her down. But then you have other games that they try or appear to try on and on and on and on and on, and they just don't want to give it up for whatever reason, a la Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, they just announced another character. So, yeah. From there, I'm not quite sure how Ubisoft is going to treat Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Because the amount of time, effort, money, PR, everything they have dumped into this game. What is it going to be worth to them, and what do the players think it's worth? That's what I'm excited to see.
I mean, I think that Ubisoft has one thing going for them on this, and that is they actually do games as service really well. When you look at their track record, and they definitely do comebacks really well. For Honor, still alive, still kicking, entering season 6, or I think it's actually more in season 6, still adding characters to it. Same with Rainbow Six Siege, which is even older than that. Didn't have the greatest launches, but they are very good at keeping with their fan base and then building their fan base on what is there. Now, admittedly, Skull and Bones is a very different beast than Rainbow Six Siege and For Honor, because For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege are PvP, arena-based things. So you need a couple of maps, and then you need to slowly just work on balancing. With this, you've got to add content. You got to add content regularly. You got to keep the content train going, and you have to launch in a state that does not make people super upset. And I think that was a big problem that Anthem had, is that they launched in a way that they were already behind the ball. You know, they could never catch up to get the new content out. And that's what inevitably killed them, because they were so rough on their launch. Skull and Bones needs to have a decent launch. It doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be decent. Mm-hmm. And they have to build on that success. They have to put money in. They have to keep working on it. They have to keep adding to it. And if they do that, if they make it, if it becomes a long enough tail like For Honor or Rainbow Six Siege, they'll easily make back the money they put in over this 10-year development process. It's just, those games have been going for nearly 10 years now. They could do it. It's just they have to stick with it, and they have to keep working on it, and they have to have a decent launch. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like they're behind the ball already, because people have overhyped this game again,
Yeah.
All right, so my next one. This should come as no surprise. I'm very excited for this game. Another early one, February. I cannot remember the date, but early February. Wild Hearts. I am so stoked for this game. I am so excited for this game. It looks like a legitimate contender in the monster hunting genre. Plus, we haven't had a monster hunting game that I've enjoyed since Monster Hunter World. And while I think a Monster Hunter World 2 announcement is coming soon, I can't put it on my list since it's not even, announced yet. And this one will fill that gap. Plus, competition is good. Monster Hunter doesn't really have any decent competition as far as that kind of genre. And I think Wild Hearts can fill it while adding some interesting factors to it, such as the different, the style of fighting, the different monsters, and as well as the whole crafting structures thing to kind of bring your monsters down. I think that'll be really interesting. The only person who's ever come close, the only game has ever come close is Dauntless. Dauntless got a little bit too arcadey and has been a little bit too arcadey to really pull people from Monster Hunter. So, I don't know. I'm kind of hopeful on that one.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be on your list somewhere. It was just a matter of when it was going to rear its head.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I'm sure there is a Monster Hunter World 2 in development. But given the fact that I believe, because I think we've talked about this before, they really only have one team that does the Monster Hunter stuff.
They have two. They have
Oh,
two
they have
teams.
two. Okay.
Like, so Monster Hunter Rise was made by a different team than Monster Hunter
Yeah.
World. They share technology, but like they're different teams.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's something coming down the pipeline
Yeah.
for that. But I feel like since Monster Hunter World, there's been this resurgence in the genre. So I almost wonder if Wild Hearts started development partway through the lifespan of Monster Hunter World.
I would not doubt it at all. And I think that, like, yeah, it definitely, Monster Hunter World had widespread appeal, whereas Monster Hunters previous to that had only really pulled in the Monster Hunter tryhards, you know what I mean? And no offense to the Monster Hunter tryhards, other than the ones that decided to randomly attack me on a video, fuck you guys. But, yeah, like, that's what Monster Hunter was made for before Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World brought in that wide-based appeal. Hell, it brought me in. I didn't play a Monster Hunter game before that, and I don't plan to. Monster Hunter World is my Monster Hunter. That's what I want out of a Monster Hunter game, and I hope Wild Hearts gives us that going forward, personally. Okay, so do I get an honorable mention, too, since you had one?
Yeah, you may as well get an honorable mention, yeah.
I mean, we're real short on time, so why not? All right, so my honorable mention is Wayfinder. It's got a closed beta already going. I did not get accepted to it, although I was literally registering for it while we were doing a podcast, like once I realized I could. But it's got like 3 more closed betas, then an open beta, and it's going to go into early access. I don't know if it's going to be free or money, but it looks really cool. It looks like a 3-person kind of almost Warframey, but like as if Warframe and Fable had a baby.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of looks like. What I really liked is when I delved into it, I found out that like there's a city and you actually build your house in the city, and your house gives you buffs depending on what you put in your house. But all the other players in your city also build houses in the city. So the hub is actually created by the players, which I think is really, really cool idea. Really cool idea. Very excited to see that game in the long run. I can't wait to see how that comes out. I'm fingers crossed that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mention, though.
I'm trying to remember that one. I think I'm imagining the right one in my head.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Was it it was the one that was it the Warframe people?
Yeah, but they're publishing it.
Right.
It's Airship something is actually creating it. I'm pretty sure it's their debut game. It's good. I've watched a couple trailers for it. It was announced at the Game Awards, and they're already in beta and early access, which is really exciting. It looks really cool to me. So that's my honorable mention. My last one, though, is going to be a controversial one, much like yours. I'm trying to stay positive, but I'm definitely putting forward something that I've been recently kind of negative on. But the thing is this is kind of like Starfield was for me, is while I am very negative on the lead up to this game, like all the advertising for this game, I'm very excited to play this game. I'm really hopeful it is what I think it is, and that is Nightingale. I'm really, really excited for it. And every time they show a trailer, they show just crazy stuff to the point where you're like, what is this game?
This game?
The trailer at the Game Awards, they're floating around on umbrellas. Like, I'm like, what
Mary
is
Poppins
this?
Simulator.
Yeah, I really want to play that. I think it looks a lot of fun. I have some friends who will probably be really into it, and I think it'll be a really great one to play as a group. I think the kind of world is very fresh and new. I think that the whole Victorian era characters is also kind of like a new, fresh take that we haven't really seen in a lot of games like this. So I'm really excited for Nightingale. Again, there's definitely been some downsides. Their advertising campaign has been abhorrent. They have showed trailer after trailer without any release date. but they tell you it's releasing, but they don't tell you a date, and they tell you that you need to sign up for a beta that doesn't actually exist. So I have problems all the way around for their advertising of that. That being said, I'm very hopeful that it comes out this year, and it's actually good.
My biggest thing about that game is more of like the what actually is it? Like it's a live service, but it's a live service MMO multiplayer survival looter game that's procedurally generated, which is I mean, I'm not knocking it for that, because if there's one thing that we complained about on this channel, it's the lack of new ideas.
Yep.
So we 100% need new ideas out there. I just wish we had a little bit more clarity on it, because that's the thing. When I saw that first trailer, I'm like, wow, this does look really cool.
Right.
What is it?
Well, and
In fact, I was going to say,
Sorry.
I think even whenever we first saw the trailer for it, whenever it was first announced, I had mentioned something to you on the podcast that I thought it looked really cool, and then you you had said, it's a live service game. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You don't like those.
Yeah, it was hilarious. You're like, Nightingale looks awesome. I was like, you need to watch that trailer again, because this is definitely a games of service game. I think it's gonna be, personally, I think it's gonna be kind of like grounded in the way the multiplayer stuff works. But I think that what you're gonna end up doing, the procedural generation, is gonna be, because there's these portals that you jump through to kind of go to other places to like kill monsters and gather resources. I think that's where the procedural generation will come in. So I think they're almost going to add some roguelike elements into it, where you have like your hub world where you build everything up with your player friends, and then you kind of make jumps to get resources, and how deep are you going to go away from the portal? It probably becomes more and more deadly. I don't know. I think it looks really interesting. Again, their advertisement has been abhorrent. It has been. But on the new IP thing, with the exception of Street Fighter 6, I don't think either one of us have named a game that's in a series.
No.
Not one of our three. No.
Wow.
Street Fighter 6, and then you named the Zelda sequel, but that was your honorable mention. So
Right.
it's not like I mean, it goes to show we're sick of franchises. We need fresh ideas, fresh takes, whether they fail or succeed. And I will commend one thing from the Nightingale thing. It is a fresh idea. It's definitely new.
Is.
Whether this
Very
game
much.
works or doesn't, it is fresh and new. And I want it to succeed because of that. So that's it, right? We're done with all of ours, right?
I do believe, yes.
All right, so here's what's going to happen, everybody. You are either going to we're going to go to break, and then we'll either see Phil Billy or we'll get the plugs. One of the two. Either way, we wish you guys all a happy New Year. We hope you had a great holiday, and excited for a better 2023. Or maybe I get my voice back. My eyes don't swell shut. And I'm not constantly on the verge of death. So, we'll be right back.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so we are back with Philbilly330. Pay no attention that we have all changed clothes. But
I think I wore this shirt last week.
oh, did you? I definitely didn't wear this shirt. This is definitely a different shirt. But yeah, well, Phil's going to give us his most anticipated for 2023, his 3 games or whatever that he's most anticipated about in the year of 2023, and we're going to gab about them. So, Phil, hit us up with it, man.
So first of all, my most anticipated, and no surprise for you guys, it will be Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
The patch 9 came out, and it's awesome. They fixed a lot of things and listened to the community on a lot of stuff. It made me even more excited. Like, they put in like quick time events, like not quick time events, quick time like, so you know how like, because it's based on D&D 5e, so you know how there's like dispel magic and stuff, and that would be something that happens when someone casts a spell on you. So
reactions.
Reactions. There you go. So it'll like pop up a box and be like, do you want to use a spell slot to do this or whatever it might be. But yeah, that was like a really cool addition, and they added Paladin. So I think all that's left to add now is Dragonborn, the race, and there's one other class they're still missing. Oh, Monk. They haven't added Monk yet. But that was their last update, so that should come in the full release.
Sounds really interesting. Really interesting. And I saw the trailer. It looks like a very competent CRPG as far as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it'll end up being my game of the year. Like it plays so much like Divinity Original Sin 2, and like which makes sense. It's the same creator, but
right.
I really love that CRPG. I wish Neil liked CRPGs, because since he's such a story nerd, he would love the stories in like Divinity especially, and I'm assuming Baldur's Gate also.
See, that's one thing. I don't know what it is, because I feel like that's something that would be up my alley. And I don't know, there's just been some CRPGs that I haven't really glommed onto. Like back in the day, like Final Fantasy X and stuff like that, the very hardcore turn-based, stuff like that. But I feel like now it's evolved to such a point where it's a different genre than what that was.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I know Baldur's Gate is something, I remember when it was announced, I was like, oh, Mind Flayers, okay, I already know this is like a D&D thing. And it's something that I'm very curious to see how it turns out in the end, because I don't know. I feel like I'm ready to give something new, like something like that's like newer, a chance to like see if I stick onto it, because I don't know. I feel like it should be something that I would enjoy.
Well, and Phil's right, man. The CRPGs, they're almost always narrative driven. Story-based games,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a narrow or narrative game, but the opportunity makes you feel like you're not walking a linear path. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can do 10 different things to get from point A to point B, and what you choose to do affects outcomes. That's what I really like about them. Plus, it's not that I like turn-based combat, I like the tactical part of the turn-based combat, like sneaking into position to get high ground on this group before confronting them from in front and being able to flank them from behind. That kind of stuff is what I really like about them. It's not because it's turn-based, it's just that turn-based is what makes that work,
Yeah.
So what's your next one, man? I'm interested to hear.
So it's like this one's like a one that I'm not 100% sure, but it looks super interesting to me, is the Flintlock Siege of Dawn. I didn't know if you guys mentioned it in your guys's.
No, neither one of us did.
No.
Nor did we. We also, just so you know, and I didn't warn you of this, but we also did one honorable mention. After our 3, if you have one. So, but we didn't do it in our main 3 or our honorable mentions.
Okay, but yeah, that game, Zach, you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
Neil said he wasn't super familiar with it or something, right?
Yeah, it looks very interesting to me. There are some aspects to the trailer. It's weird because I've seen that trailer, and that trailer is kind of a wait and see for me, because there's aspects to that trailer that are like serious, like Zach things, like a different setting. The flintlock pistols is very me. I'm like very excited about that. And then there's other aspects like the no character creation. You're playing a specific character, so it's kind of, I'm kind of half dozen back and forth, so I'm not sure if I'm going to really be in on this. I'm kind of on the fence on that one, but it does look very interesting.
Yeah, that was one for me. And I had a question about one of my super ones I was super interested about, but I know it got announced, but I don't know if it's claimed to be coming out in 2023. Is Remnant 2 coming out in 2023?
See, they did not say a date in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure that it is coming out in 20, because I almost put that on my 3-person list, but they did not say whether it is coming out in 2023. They just said, I don't think they said any sort of window whatsoever. Neil's typing it up right now. I can see him.
Now.
Because if that game is coming out, I will for sure be purchasing that if it doesn't go to Game Pass regardless, because Zach had mentioned in one of the podcasts that he didn't have anyone to play with. I've loved that game when we did it for the road, whatever that
Led Astray.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would play that game anytime, because I went back to it myself even afterwards. Yeah,
really? Because when we played Led Astray, you actually said you liked it, but you didn't. Yeah,
because it was creepy. Yeah. I made myself because I liked the shooting and the mechanics so much.
Yeah,
and if you ever wanted to do a show like Road to I would totally be down for that, because I haven't beaten it and I would like to play it all the way through.
The only
thing, ever beat it?
I did not beat it. That game is so insane, just because it procedurally generates the boss, so I just end up against another boss. Plus, I never was playing with a friend, so I was always just playing with randos online, and it just never worked out for me. I think the only time I ever played that with anybody who I knew, it was you, and that was it on Led Astray. The only thing that sucks is it's not in Game Pass anymore. Unless they put it back in there, it's not in Game Pass anymore, which is a bummer. I'd be like, yeah, man, we will play tomorrow, but I don't know. I'd be willing to get it though in the future, as long as we get past the holidays first, money wise.
Yeah.
I may have spent way too much of my paycheck on my wife's gift, so I am now rationing dollars until January.
Yeah.
So the quick cursory Google search, the first result is the Steam page for it, and it says coming soon.
Right.
No release date. That said, further down the line, there is an IGN article that says it has been announced for 23.
Okay.
So
go ahead, put it on your list then, man. Put it on your list. I'll be surprised if it comes in 23, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess if that's my honorable mention, it's like one I'm excited about but don't know, especially with Baldur's Gate 3, I don't know if I'll have time to get into it, because that's one thing. I like the CRPG genre,
right?
But they're huge.
Yeah.
They're always big.
Yeah.
They're always time sinks, and you get dragged into one, and I don't know how people play more than one at a time, because I get so immersed in the worlds. But the Warhammer Rogue Trader, that's coming out, I'm sure is going to be a good game. But that's made by the Owlcat, and their system is usually more complex than a developer like Larian's.
Right.
And it takes a lot more for me. I'm sure for someone who's been playing CRPGs for 20 years, it's not a big deal. But for me, their system is always much more scary, I guess. Like
intimidating.
Intimidating. There you go. Yeah, it's not scary because I ain't scared. I ain't never been scared. But I've been intimidated before, and it's just the way they put together games is kind of intimidating. But the actual premise of that game, I think, is awesome. Although I know little about the Warhammer franchise, I have studied up a little bit about like the history of it and the background of it, and the what is it, the Imperium of Man versus everything, and it's a really cool futuristic dystopian system they have set up that I think will translate very well into that genre, and it'll be huge because that is there's a lot of fans of that of the Warhammer world.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's my biggest problem with CRPGs, honestly, is they take up so much time. Even simple ones like Wildermyth, you're sinking in hours into a playthrough. Sometimes even an hour into a fight, just one fight.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one thing that, like, it's still the reason I'm still to this day, as much as I love the game, never made it through Wasteland 3, just because it's just become such a, I don't want to say slog because they're interesting. It's just too much, for me.
Yeah, they're a lot.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but Rogue Trader sounds interesting. I do want to just jump back to Remnant for 1 second. I will say one thing that makes me nervous, and it's actually one of my odds and ends for a podcast that would have already aired 2 weeks ago, so we're good. Remnant is being published this time around by Gearbox.
Oh.
Makes me a little bit nervous. Not gonna lie. Gearbox is not my favorite company right now, and I know that they're owned by Embracer Group now, so they're not under the flag of necessarily Randy Pitchford, but that still just makes me nervous. I don't want Remnant 2 to look more like Borderlands than Remnant. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I didn't know that. Because the original Remnant from Ashes was like an indie developer, wasn't it?
It still is. They're just using Gearbox to publish this time around. So the first time they self-published, which is a great expense, plus you don't get the kind of marketing, that you want. So while they did good, I'm sure they didn't get the kind of sales they wanted. This time around, Gearbox is going to put the money in for the advertisement. But that also means that if they're publishing, they have a little influence on the game itself. And that just makes me nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to what that contract states and how much they have their fingers in it, in the project itself.
Yep.
And I'm curious what is the premise even gonna be? Like we all know what Remnant from Ashes was.
Yeah.
So I wonder how they carry that franchise forward. Like, I didn't beat the game, but I didn't think it was set up for a sequel. But I could be completely wrong on that.
I never got to the end.
Sure.
I never got to the end either, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think it'll be very interesting. Just even if they do the first one basically over again with new bosses and new biomes, I'm down. So we'll have to see what they do with it.
You know what my favorite thing about that Remnant from Ashes was?
What?
Was I think that was, and I know, Zach, that you're a huge proponent of random generation.
A procedural generation, yeah.
Yeah, procedural generation. But I think Remnant did it in a perfect way because so this is what bothers me about procedural generation in a lot of games, including Wildermyth, which I do like. But you know how I like to tinker with builds and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, when you put too much procedural generation in, I can't do that because I'm left to the whim of essentially behind the scenes a roll of a dice. Whereas in Remnant, if I wanted to make a build, like in the overworld, it wasn't procedurally generated in the sense that like if I know where an SMG is in one playthrough, it behind some fan in a lockbox that I get the key from here, in my next playthrough, it's still in that same spot.
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked about the way they used the procedural generation in the dungeons, but not in like the game part. So it worked really well for me because I got to experience the the awesome part of procedural generation without what in my opinion are the downsides of it.
I mean, plus you could teleport to the specific biome that you're trying to fight, trying to go through, so you knew what you were going into. The rooms would be different, but you knew the enemy typing after the first time you went through, so you could build that build for it. Yeah, I mean, I like that too. I think procedural generation is at its best when it allows you to play with characters, but doesn't take away your free choice. And I like the idea of, like, Wildermyth is cool because once you get that character and you start to build them, you can keep them going through other things, so you can keep that build going in a lot of ways. You still have to start with some new characters, but like you can do legacy missions where, hey, this is the guy I already had, I could keep building him up, which was nice. But there are a lot of procedural generation that are, I mean, it boils down to roguelikes, which I'm getting really sick of, because you can't, like, the build is on the fly in the moment, and I'd rather take the time to do the build outside.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that has been wonderful. Thank you, Philbilly330, for joining us and giving your most anticipated games of 2023. This is so what's going to happen now is we're going to go to break, and inexplicably there will only be me and Neil again, and we will be in different clothes, and we will not mention Phil at all. So we will be right back with plugs.
Later, guys.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, you got anything special to plug 3 weeks in the future?
Nothing at this current juncture, but, coming into the new year, stuff, getting back on a regular basis, fingers crossed. I know we have not done a stream in a hot minute.
I want to, too.
With Kayla. And I think we, from the last time that we talked about it, 2-3 months ago, we might be doing that You Suck at Parking. That looks like it'll be great. But
looks great, yeah.
Yeah, from there, I mean, outside of that, you can always find me here most weeks. Not every single week, but most weeks.
For me, I do have a special new show to plug, which will probably be coming out either this week or the following week on the channel. We don't have a name for it yet, as I'm recording it now, but myself and a very old friend of mine, I don't know what he's going to call himself yet, so I don't want to say his name until he names himself, but we are batch recording basically the entire first season. We are going to play GM mode in 2022 in WWE 2K22 against each other. And we're going to cut it into half-hour episodes. Well, hopefully half-hour episodes. We're going to each do an episode, basically, per episode. So, yeah, we've got it on the books. He's scheduled to come over. We're going to batch record all day, and then once a month we'll just batch record. And we're very excited about that. I haven't talked about it because the details are still sparse. Even now, they're sparse. But so I'm very excited about this. You will be seeing this in the new year. On top of that, yes, we're going to get streaming with Neil because I love to stream with Kayla and Neil because it's just me and Kayla making fun of Neil. And then and then I want to stream with Philbilly again on Wildermyth. I especially got a bunch of extra mods for it, so I'm really excited to play those mods with him as well. So look out for that, guys. Look out for that. Of course, we've got the normal stuff, podcast, Prelude to Divorce, all the fun stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to be on William Holen's show, or I already was. It's very hard to plug things because we're in the future. But you guys out there can always contact us on Facebook at OmegaGamingDH, on Twitter at OmegaGaming9. You can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. Yeah, as long as you guys keep watching this, then we'll keep making them. See you guys next time. Happy New Year. It's weird. The pink eye thing is going to end up being a prequel episode, about like a opening or a bonus to an episode when I won't have it anymore.